Hello and welcome to Relationship Conversations. I am James Triplett, and all month long we have been dealing with the 4 F's: faith, family, finances, and the future. And I've got an awesome couple here today, and we're going to dig deep. We're going to dive into some subjects, and I know they are willing to be open and authentic, and you're going to enjoy this session as we tackle the 4 F, and we're going to welcome Jewel and Darius Sampson to Relationship Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
So again, thank you guys. You guys know we're going to be talking about the 4 F's. One of the things I want to first talk about before we really get into this, when you guys got married, it was a stunning wedding, stunning background, and the founder, our pastor, Bishop Lawrence R. Robertson, he married you guys, and everything was just seemed to have been. I know you can't do things perfectly, but you guys' wedding was pretty close. So what did it mean to you, Jewel and Darius, to have the founder of Emmanuel Apostolic Church and the Barbara Williams Center to actually officiate that wedding?
Oh, so you're just gonna jump right in and have me cry today?
Well, we'll get it out of the way, right?
To me, it was. I think it's a little bit different because I grew up at Emmanuel, and Bishop was a friend to me, and so I always saw myself getting married at this commercial wedding. I told my husband, I said, when we do our wedding, I want to make sure it's like the movies, so that's where that idea came from.
Right.
But the love that was in the air was just undeniable, and that made it extra special that Bishop was there. And so sometimes I look at those pictures and I remember the day, even though when you're in the wedding, and especially if you are silly like I was and plan
Right.
and do everything for the wedding,
Right.
you don't really get to experience it. So looking back and having those memories in the video, it's just something special.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So for me, and speaking is that I never thought I would get married. So now we
Never?
Never. I remember I was 37 when
Oh,
I
okay.
got married. And so what was exciting for me is that I got to know Jewel, I got to know her family, and I knew Bishop.
Right.
And I knew how important Bishop was to Jewel.
Right.
And Jewel always, from the time she was with all her friends, talked about Jewel wanted this beautiful wedding. Oh man, this is crazy. Because we had got married the year before
Right.
at the courthouse.
Right.
So what was beautiful to me is that all the people that knew Jewel and had gotten to know me do the wedding. And the most proud thing for me is always when Mama Pearl got up and talked about the genuineness and how she was just happy for Jewel.
Wow.
And I got this picture, and I don't know if they're crying or not, but it's my favorite when I say they're crying. She said they're praying. The big man,
Right.
Daddy Hank, he has that tear coming out of his eye. He's sitting there. And when I knew I had got the approval of the family, it's everything that before came into making was already in the making.
Right.
That her pastor get a chance to
Wow.
marry her. Her mom's there, her dad's there, her brothers are there.
Yeah.
So everything that she probably visioned being, it came to be. It
Wow.
came to be. And so that's what me looking back, doing that, being a part of that, part of her life,
Right.
that's what made it real for me, making that vision come true.
Wow, awesome. So one of the things I want to talk about or ask you guys as well, how did you guys meet and how long have you been married?
Yes, get it right.
It's funny because we had two different stories for the longest time.
Right.
I think literally 5 years in, we were at our friend's house and he's telling us this story and I'm like, that's not what happened. And he said, so we met at this club. It was like literally, the chances of our meeting were so slim.
Mhm.
The club was literally open like 30 days. It was like one of those grand ideas and then they didn't have a good foundation. So we were all out, we met. He thought I was with this other group. I thought he was with some other people. The whole time, no, we were not with those people. And so he's trying to get me to hang out. I'm saying, no, I gotta work.
Right.
I had all these excuses. And then I think I took his number, but I didn't call. Was that what I took your number, didn't call. finally I call because I'm busy. You know, I work a lot. I always have worked a lot.
Right.
And so when I finally call him, we just talk on the phone, and we got to know each other pretty well on the phone. I'm really bad with the time frame. Maybe it was a week or two, but we talked a lot. And then every time he would ask me on a date, I would say, I have to work. And finally, the one day he said, I am taking you out. We're gonna go to dinner. I'm gonna pick you up at 7:30, something to that extent. And I was like, ooh, I started braiding my hair. So I wanted to tell him no. So we literally hung out, I think, 2 days later, and been together ever since. So it's been a long time. I think it's about 17 years.
You gotta get it
It's
right.
something, we've been together about 17 years.
Oh, wow.
We got married in 2011. So, yeah, I think that's about right.
Wow.
Because, you know, time flies when
Oh,
you're
yeah.
having fun.
Yes.
And then the years just keep going and you really don't think about
Right,
it.
right.
So can it's my dog.
He
You
can
go ahead to
tell his
We
side.
married the end of March 2005.
Okay.
On a Saturday night, Final Four was going on. And the reason how I know that, because I was home, had just settled in, had got me some Arabs with chicken,
Right.
and my beverage of choice.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the Final Four, and my buddy from down the street called me and say, hey man, I need to get out of the house, I want to hang out. Like, no
Right.
man, I'm good. So eventually we go out, and we go to one of our favorite Applebee's, and the bartender says, hey, are you going to the new bar tonight? Like, I don't know where's that at. So she literally says, once in a chance to meet each other, we go to that place because we had no intentions of going there, but we said, okay, we'll give it a chance. It's in Bremerton, but we're gonna go. So it's getting ready to be closing time. They done already called last call, and my buddy's talking to somebody and like, hey, man, that lady's over there. She's gonna be real mean, cause she had her stance.
Right.
She had her stance. I said, all right, I gotta go save my buddy.
Right.
And so we get off. We changed numbers, and that's when we started laughing because I gave a number, but I recall that I was too intoxicated to put a number. So I told her to put her number in my phone.
Right.
We don't know if that part may not be correct.
Right.
Anyway,
I
make
had
long
to work the
story
next day.
short, we end up meeting, and to this very day, when she finally came over, and I couldn't remember how she looked at her. We get into that part now. Right. But I'm peeking out the window, and I'm like, man, who? And I see her, I'm like, oh yeah. I said, oh yeah, come up the steps this way. And I had made this dinner, and we supposed to be watching Lemony Snickets.
Right.
And to make a long story short, everybody knows I don't like movies.
Right.
But I want to watch this movie for her. But
Right.
I really got to meet her. And I'm not, no.
He's falling asleep. And then
I'm gonna watch
Lemony
this
Snickets it's long. It's like
Is it-
3 hours.
Oh,
And I did that on purpose.
Right.
So I never finished watching Lemony Snickets, to say the truth. But nonetheless, we can, and the good thing about this part is the maturity when we get into later on, is that I had already had orders to leave.
Oh.
I had already had orders to be going overseas.
Mhm.
And now we gotta make this thing work within a 6-week time frame.
Right.
So that's what we said was a once in a million. I'm a Powerball winner. That's what I
It's
call
a
it.
tight schedule. I
Tight
like how you
schedule.
said that.
Exactly.
I was listening to the former First Lady, Michelle Obama, and she was describing her relationship with President Obama. And she talked about marriage is a struggle.
Mhm.
Marriage is not 50-50. I don't care, and people have their own ideas, concepts, and beliefs of whether that is or not. But she said marriage is what you choose to make it. So how, is this 50-50? Is it 70-30? Is it 80-20? When there's some serious challenges, describe how you guys navigate.
I wanna go first.
Okay.
So when we say a number, I don't, in my mind, I can't put a number. Because what my wife does, sometimes I can't relate. So on the value that she's gonna put on it, I'm like, oh, I could do that in 2 seconds, you know?
Right.
But that non-diminishing the job that she does. So what I say in a marriage, and Michelle Obama is correct, that it's what you make of it. And I think I mentioned it to everybody I talk to, that I learned this a long time from my grandmother, is that the marriage is about the commitment.
Wow.
And so when I'm struggling, when I don't know what to do, that I know I'm committed to I'm committed to the marriage. I don't know what that next, like I said, future gonna be. I don't know what the next hour gonna be. All I know is we're mad, we're not talking,
Right.
and ain't nothing gonna happen. But I know I'm committed to that marriage. So the value is 100% commitment, not the value that I think I bring or the value I think she brings. Because I may think I'm doing I heard one of the guys, I'm getting, something like get rambling, I heard one of the guys on Man Up say, all the things he thought he was doing, he wasn't doing. So sometimes I think that I'm doing this.
Right.
I may not be doing that.
Wow.
So I have to realize that, yeah, I think I'm doing this, and when it all adds up, I may not be doing that.
Wow.
So the commitment to the marriage is, I agree with Michelle Baum, is what I make of it, and my making of it is 100% commitment.
Right. Well, let me follow up on something. You said that sometimes you get mad. As men, we have a tough time expressing ourselves to our spouse.
Yes.
So when you get mad or angry, upset, and it's okay to do that, we know that because the Bible says, how do you get out of that funk? Because sometimes now, for me, when we got 35 years, I would stay mad 3-4 days, almost a week. And we in the same house together, we ain't talking.
Yes.
So how do you bring yourself to say, you know what, this is about commitment, it's not about my madness.
So I found out this past year I'm a Sigma male, and a Sigma male doesn't express themselves. They're like a loner, an isolationist, and it makes so much sense when my wife said, "You don't talk to me." I isolate myself and think about the situation and say I'm get out. So I don't never stay mad for a long period of time, and that in its sense creates friction in marriage. Say you're playing around,
Right.
you're not taking this serious. I'm like, I am. That's gone. That's
Right.
finished. That's over with, and that's what part of that I have to isolate myself. What am I really mad about? What am I excited about? What's this about? And I'm like, well, to me, it's really not nothing. It's our process. Like we're really talking about whatever. Is that going to be the impact that's going to end our marriage? And that we didn't agree that the dishes are clean or they dirty and I wash them again? Is that really gonna be the side effect that the dishes got washed twice? So, and I'll be like, when it happens over and over again, of course I'm frustrated. Like,
Right.
are we really going back this way? I'm frustrated, but I realize that maybe there's something bigger.
Right.
Let me slow down and get back to, and I call it get back in rhythm. Because anytime you're
That's
arguing,
good.
that means something's off course.
Yeah.
And I always say, hey, we got a rhythm. Let's get back in rhythm. And because I process so fast, sometimes it makes it seem like I'm not really caring, but I really do care. And that's a symptom of Sigma that I don't really know how to express myself in a way that I'm gonna lay a detailed 5-point plan of why I'm upset. But I do know that we have to get over that.
Right. It sounds like you have a good process. So Joe, how about you? How do you define it? Do you put a number on it, or you just kind of agree, as Darius has said?
I think, so for one, my parents were married, I think 46 years before my mom passed. And so the example of marriage that I had was, you're always going to be together no matter what. As I got older, I realized, well, there might be a lot of things that my parents didn't tell me because I'm their child and they wanted to protect me. And sometimes I'm like, man, I wish they would have talked to me about this part of marriage. I think that there is a misconception for people when they say 50-50, because if your individual self is not even whole, you will never give 50-50.
Wow.
It's just not possible.
That's deep.
And so you have your challenges of, for us, male and female, you have your challenges of the age difference. We're a generation, we're a decade difference, 11 years actually. So the way that he grew up, the way that he thinks is different. Well, yeah, and then I grew up in Washington.
Right.
He grew up in the South. I did have the benefit of having parents that are from the South, but it's a little bit different. So I think you take all of that into consideration, it is a recipe for disaster sometimes.
No, you said it.
But I think that both of us, as he said, if the commitment to the marriage is the understanding that we commit 100% to making it work, sometimes it might feel like, I don't think we've dwindled down to 20 or under 50.
Right.
But I think that we're not always equally giving
Right.
the 50%. And then I also think that individually, I think they say you change every 10 years. That's hard enough.
Right.
Just if you're single, changing, you get frustrated with yourself.
Right.
I get frustrated with myself because you're living you're changing, sometimes you're growing, or sometimes you are dealing with trauma, and then you have this other person that you have to think about as well. In reverse, for him to be the head of the household, I probably make it very difficult sometimes.
Probably, Jewel.
Probably. And I know, but even just recognizing those things,
Yes.
I think is a benefit and
Yes.
a positive for the marriage. Because if you at least recognize where your shortfalls are, I think you're already ahead of yourself, so.
Wow. That was well said. A question for you, Darius.
Okay.
Jewel is you guys are busy people.
Right.
Jewel is a businesswoman. She's, a community activist, or however you want to put it. Jewel has a lot of hats, and I like that hat that you're wearing today.
Thank you.
Have you ever struggled with her independence as a woman and what she does? Or have you been like, I'm supporting you? Have you struggled with it?
And never struggled with it. So that's the important part. That's the important part that I like to talk about. And it kind of go back to what Jill said about being 100% whole. And I always think about the hierarchy of needs.
Right.
And what the man should be doing, that he has to do is being a priest, protector, and provider. So for me, where that comes in at is that I gotta be confident in myself. That if I'm not 100%, definitely, my wife is gonna be doing all these things and I feel left behind. Because I had accomplished a lot of stuff on my own, I like that. But what frustrates me, when you talk about the frustration of the hats, is that it wears my wife down.
Oh, gotcha.
And I see it. And she's going through this stuff, and I'm saying, hey, look, why is that so important to you? Why do you need that? And then she struggles, and I'm like, you bring all these things to these people, and we all know when you wear these hats that if I'm promoting something, it's my thing. Everybody may not feel the same way I feel about it.
Right.
So now you got to deal with all those other entities, and so when my wife she's away and then she works from home, all that energy has to leave the home some type of way.
Right.
And I try to be the one to make it leave.
Right.
But guess what? It's coming from me.
Right.
Sometimes that voice may sounds like I'm jealous, but sometimes that hard, sturdy hand sounds like jealousy.
Right.
But it can also be leadership too.
Wow.
So my biggest weakness can be my thing, because sometimes, and I like the way Mama Pearl said the very first time she did, I can be old fashioned. I have those old fashioned tendencies
Right.
about me, and sometimes what my wife like to say, it is misogynistic,
Right.
and it is overpowering. But both of us have those.
It's the yin and the yang.
Right. So and coming from me, it sounds like it's coming from a man, because my demeanor is I'm probably non-assertive. And so she sees me being non-assertive around a lot of people.
Right.
But when I'm assertive with her, she's like, wait, why are you so hard on me?
Right.
Because you're my wife.
Right.
And I see these things happening to you, and I don't want this to happen.
Right.
And that goes back to sometimes I can't articulate it. I just know this is the way it needs to be.
Gotcha.
And that's the way I speak in that tone, that, hey, it needs to be this way, you need to cut this out, to stop this.
Right.
It's draining your energy.
Right. I like how you frame that. So Jewel, being this person, and you know you're that person, and you know there's season that God uses people and uses you. How do you make sure he's okay? How do you reinforce his need to make, to not feel like I'm getting lost in the sauce? How do you support him?
I probably don't do a good job.
Thank you for being honest.
Yeah, it's there's a bit of a learning curve, just because I think in Black culture, especially for Black women, we don't feel, what am I trying to say? It's hard to be vulnerable in that situation because I've seen my mom just go, go, go. I've seen other people who are role models to me go, 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 but we don't see the other side. We don't see the side of, the husband saying, hey, I need you to slow down.
Right.
I need some, us time. I never saw that. I'm sure it was there because that's the natural,
Right.
Natural response. So it's just something that I'm still trying to navigate and work on. 100% of it is time.
Yeah.
There never seems like there's enough time.
Right.
And so when you are the spouse of a person who is so much in the community. They, you know, I will say he 100% supports. If he did not, our marriage would be gone.
Wow.
Because I would have to make a decision about, am I going to, you know, champion my marriage, or am I going to champion these kids? And so I know that he is 100% very supportive.
Wow.
And sometimes people don't understand that. They'll say, well, I always see you out, you're doing this, you're doing that. Where's your husband? He is supporting me by taking care of Mocha or doing this other errand.
Right.
Somebody has to do it. We both can't be here all the time.
Right, right.
And also with my nonprofit, it is our nonprofit. He's the vice president of the organization.
Wow.
And he does bring balance. I think that's one of the things that I really love about him. Although I complain sometimes, he brings balance.
Right.
And I am, by just general nature, imbalanced.
Could I say something?
Yeah, please,
The funny thing, and that we talking over, it's not. So, I think the thing that when we're being honest about it, is that I think I know a lot of stuff, right? Not because I know a lot of stuff, because I experienced a lot of stuff.
Right.
So one of my things is like, you just keep living, Joe. You're gonna see. You're gonna see.
Right.
And a lot of times, the phrase "Daddy Hank," Michelle like me doing that. 98% of the time, what I see is probably somewhat true.
Right.
Not all the time true. And I think that eats her up.
Yeah.
Well, I know it eats her up.
Tom Cruise, right?
And that goes to, not that I'm right, sometimes that I've been told that I have an arrogance. And so, I'm like, yeah, you do, you're kind of arrogant, but you also humble. So,
You wrestle with that.
I always wrestle with that because I'm the only boy, she's the only girl.
Gotcha.
So I struggle with being a gentleman and sometimes being a man.
Wow.
Because for a long time, and I talk about this to all guys, that a lot of times we don't know how to be a man.
Wow.
A lot of things, you know, like, so my father was around, but he lived in New York. So I go to visit on something. So some of the men in the church who I looked up to, the deacons, so when we go talk about faith, we was always in the church because my family built the church.
Right.
So I knew how, and being around women, I knew how to be a gentleman. I know how to treat women nice. I know how to do these things. But being a man, she'll tell you, I couldn't turn a screw.
Right.
I can't get up there and do electrical stuff.
Right.
And we got to call the people.
Those are the idea of being a man.
And like I say, so her brothers, they could do it. They probably can do all that stuff. She's like, I just got to keep in. How do you break the
Did
light
you
bulb?
ever wonder that, Jewel? Were you like, man? Or did you put it in his face? Because sometimes
Yes.
being married, you get in arguments. We've been married 35 years. You will bring up that thing that you know you ain't supposed to be bringing
Right.
up.
Well, and the age gap, but we met when I was, 25
25 years old. I took her on for
Yeah, 25, and I wasn't grounded at the time.
Gotcha.
So my ideas of what a man is supposed to be is how I grew up.
Right.
Everybody in my family knows how to do something. We could build a house,
Yeah.
you know? And so then
So you was a little bit of a
Darius.
comparison.
Yeah.
Why he wasn't able.
There were things that I did, I'm like, you
Right.
can't do that? Like, why? I laughed so much. The day that the first day was the movie and he made food. And so he was really proud of himself, but it was not good. And then I have these OCD tendencies. So he made this jambalaya and it was really, really spicy and I can't do spice.
Right.
But there was these big chunks of stuff that looked like big peppers. It wasn't. It was actually pieces of the pan. So,
seasoning.
and and so I'm looking at that and I'm like, my first thing, probably the first 5 years, is complain.
Right.
And it's like, later he said, you know, it took me a long time to make that chicken right for you and you didn't like it.
Right.
And that's something that I noticed in our relationship early on. You know, I would look in the garbage, I'm like, why is this chicken in there?
Right.
Because it took him 3 batches of chicken.
You were working on. She's exaggerating.
I am exaggerating on
She
3.
exaggerates on that because I beat her in the chicken. So that's my favorite food. So everybody knows that.
So, but just acknowledge that that is the relationship.
Right.
It's not that you're going to get it right on the first time, maybe not even on the second time,
Yeah.
but acknowledging the effort that somebody went
Yes.
through to,
Extremely important.
it is.
One of the things that we're gonna segue into is family. I know family is huge for you guys.
Yes.
And you guys talked about the age difference. You guys don't, have your own children, right?
No.
And so talk a little bit about, was that something that you wanted, or for whatever reason, it just didn't pan out? Jewel, that you want your own children? I know some people say, look, I got enough nephews and nieces, I don't need that. So talk a little bit about the fact that you guys do love family and you're all about family, but you don't have your own children as a couple.
So, you know, I grew up with a lot of brothers. I have all brothers. So there's only 4, but it seems like there's 5,000 of them at times. And then I don't know, because people will always say, oh, you know, they assume that all of us had kids. If you look at the kids, only Daniel has kids. We only have 2 biological nephews. I think that with us growing up the way we did, having a big family, not having a lot, we waited till older to try having kids. And then I've struggled with fertility issues. So prior to my mom passing, we started the fertility process.
Right.
And then she got sick, and you know, now it's like I lost my grandmother 2 weeks before that. It just didn't seem as important.
Right.
And we're at that point where we really have to make a decision, because I'm 42 now, and for him, I think I used to say, oh, you're not, and I would get on him and I'd say, you're not interested, because if you were interested, you would do this.
Right.
But I'm thinking now, I'm like, no, because if he was interested to the degree that we're, you know, now I can't do it,
Right.
then that would be an issue.
Yeah.
So I think that sometimes God blesses us in ways that we don't realize at the time. You know, I've struggled, I've had 4 miscarriages, and it's hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard, but I look at, I've said it multiple times here, I think just telling myself, even if you don't have biological children, you have a whole host of kids, right? Through the organization, but through my friends and family. You know, I always say there's Jewel and there's Auntie Jewel.
Right.
And if you meet Auntie Jewel,
Right.
it probably wasn't a good situation. So that's how I feel. I think that he's supportive either way it goes.
Right.
But yeah, I've had dealing with blood transfusions and fibroids, and I'm in the hospital a lot. I think I had my, 27th blood transfusion 2 weeks ago. So, and the doctors are like, you have to make a decision. So we have to make a decision. But I think God has made the decision, honestly.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, so kids is really important for my wife. I knew at an early time because she's very, very good with kids. And she always wanted that for herself. And I was willing to participate in that. They made me do these, being I was older,
Right.
I had to go do these, can I say sperm tests?
Right. Oh,
I had to go, we can edit it out.
This is
So we had to go do these things to make sure that I still can produce, right? So they go in and they do this count and stuff. So we're able, so I'm going to all these doctor's visits with her, and the doc is telling me, so all the processes I know about, I'm right there with her. And we're right in the room and they show me all this stuff. I was like, oh man, that's crazy.
Right.
And the thing about the reason I know it's important for her, because she always is good with kids. She's good with the little
Right.
babies and stuff. But both of us are good with kids.
Right.
I got so she has so many nieces. I have so many nephews. I have nieces, and to this very day they think they're uncle. None of the kids. So my family doesn't have any kids either. So they always call me uncle, and I'm the only uncle they know. The kids in our neighborhood come by, stop in the house. They just be there. Like, hey, where your parents at?
Right.
Yeah, there's a little boy that, Darius.
I don't want to say no names, but
Yeah, we won't say the name,
Right.
but literally I was like, you cannot, there's been instances where he gives them candy.
Right.
You can't do that.
Right.
And I'm like, where is your parents?
Right.
Your parents, you can't go in our backyard. The boy said, can I use the bathroom? No, you can go home.
Right.
He says, Darius didn't know what to say. He said, We don't, what did you say? We don't have a bathroom?
I don't know
He
what I told
said
the kids,
something,
but-
and the little boy said, yes, you do. Most of these houses look alike, and you should have more than one.
He's very
He's like
smart.
5 years
He
old.
already did his homework.
And the thing is, at Ramden, and it always scares me because, you know, that I'm an approachable person, but I know there's a lot of stuff that goes in, you don't know trust, but kids will come up, and one might track me today. I'm like, oh, okay. And when I'm walking the puppy there, they're like, hey, they talking to me, I'm like, right. do the parents think that? I'm like, but it's go back to talk about that. I think we do good as parents because
Right.
both of us are, I love kids, and then so I never wanted a puppy.
Right.
I got a puppy, and the puppy loves me so much that it's almost like when she knows everything about me when I get up, what time I'm coming home,
Right.
what are you doing? I cannot literally move, like do like this, if something gonna happen, I cannot go upstairs, can't do, and so, and I always imagine that if I had a daughter, that's how do it, cause they say that, you know, you have a daughter, if you're a man, I'm like, man, I don't wanna be that softball. But with guys, even with my
Oh, yes.
nephews, we done played basketball, we went and did all type of stuff together, let them know that not only I'm your uncle, I'm almost like a brother to you, that
Wow.
because it's part of the family, you're part of this. This
Yeah.
is things we're gonna do together, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So, yeah, so if we're blessed, I always tease my wife, and she hates when I say that too. I said, we like Abraham them, I'm going, and we got some more years to go. We got more years to
I
go.
like that. So what I like and what I have heard in this conversation is that you guys haven't given up hope.
No,
No,
we
not at all.
haven't.
There's still this opportunity that there may be a biological child produced in this union. I think it would be great. So let's talk a little bit about the future of this marriage. Paint a picture for me, Jewel, and give me a vision of what this marriage will look like in the future.
Fruitful is the first thing that comes to mind. I actually haven't really thought that much about the future, because I think that it's been so long,
Right.
it's been so long,
Right.
we're there. I definitely don't, think of, you know, the next 5 years and he's not there, so that's good. That's a good sign.
Yes. Very good sign.
But I think a lot of, in this day and age, marriage seems to be so taboo, and, you know, there's a lot of unconventional ideas of marriage. I always say people should just stay in their lane and do what works for them. But definitely the idea of Black love is important.
Yes.
I think it's important for our kids to see that, because the media, social media is flooded with so much opposite. And so I hope that our marriage can be an example for
Yeah.
youth.
How about you, Darren? I see the future together. And the reason why I say that, I think early on when I met Jill, I told her my vision of family and everything, right? And I got the vision, never had it, but it was from my uncle. His name was my Uncle Morris. And my Uncle Morris, at one time I was in the military, we had to go visit him, and I knew him in a while. But he had a family, he had daughters, he had sent them to college and everything.
Right.
He had this house, acres of land, and he had these nice cars, and he just sat back and seemed so peaceful. And I saw myself doing that. And part of we don't get that about finance. I always thought, before I even got married, I already had planned to that, hey, if I ever get married, I would be able to send my kids to college. I want to have my insurance, everything set up. So I already knew these things I want to do. So that way, even though we see that 5 years ago, nobody knows when we're going to go. So if it's my time, whenever it is, my wife is set up financially. She's set up for ever. She's going to have more money than we got now. So I always thought, okay, the future, the future is now.
Right.
That's what I learned. When I listen to the meditation there every morning, and the future is now.
Wow.
The future is now, and then we go. And then so you have the vision of the future, and take the steps, 1,000 miles. You know, the steps of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So we have to step into it, and we have to learn not to step blindly with all the distractions in the world.
Right.
The divorce rates up, and all the stuff's going on, all the external stuff.
Yeah.
You got to keep it out. Back to the vibrations. You got to keep that inside. You got to know every day that hey, all this external stuff is for external. And if you have haters, remember the haters are never doing better
Oh,
than
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
They're never doing better than you.
Nope.
It's a thing. So that's why she's told me I'm not on Facebook, I'm not on anything.
Gotcha.
I'm in me. I'm in my stuff.
Wow.
And if you look at my phone right now, some type of meditation is gonna come up, some type of spiritual thing. And now when I go to sleep, I'm doing that spiritual download. So that's how I know we're gonna be together. And so one thing we do, I gotta say this part. Every time I go to bed, my wife's talking, right? And she's wondering why I'm responding.
Where it's not
"Jewel,
responding.
Jewel, you've been knowing me for 18 years now. What am I doing? Well, you didn't say nothing. Do I need to say something?
Yes.
I'm praying. So every
You
morning,
know my rhythm, Jewel.
every morning, every night has to be. And then I incorporate it every year. I make my thing. That now it's not only 2 times a day, it has to be in the morning. It has to
Wow.
be the renewing, because what I learned, like I said, with faith, you have to keep doing it. But if you do it so many times, it recreates your DNA. It recreates the physiological DNA, and I become that. So that way, when all the external stuff is coming in, it can't penetrate me.
Wow.
It can't penetrate, and in a lot of ways, it won't penetrate my wife neither.
Oh,
Yeah.
So that's
that
what
is so good.
and that's what I like about it. That the future, it is the future. And so if stuff try to come in the way now, Parkers come in today, when they see how beautiful my wife is, they try to talk to her. Guess what? You can't penetrate it. You may talk to her, but you can't penetrate the force field.
I like
And
that.
it's too much.
Yeah, I
for you.
will say that we're grounded in love, and I know that we've always been taught as women, you can't just marry for love.
Right.
That
right.
is the stupidest
Yeah.
thing to do.
Yeah.
You need more than love.
You need more love, you need more sex.
Yes.
There's a whole lot of things. The last question for both of you, Jewel. What advice would you give to Jewel who married this guy 17 years ago?
Oh, definitely to shut up. That would be my biggest piece of advice. You do not know everything, just be quiet.
Wow.
That's the biggest thing.
Aaron, what advice would you give to
You know what? And I always ask myself this, not just for the marriage. I wouldn't give myself no advice, because it doesn't matter.
Wow.
It has to start right now. It has to start here and now. So if I gave myself that advice, I would be using it, and I gave myself advice before, and guess what? It didn't work. So being able to get the intel, I use this thing, and so a lot of things I do, my wife don't like. I tell my wife I know her better than she knows herself. So when her blood is low, I can see it in her.
Right.
But it's not about ignoring her. It's getting to know the things that I see and incorporate that. And my wife's not feeling good, or my wife is going through something, and sometimes I want to do something, and I think when I do stuff, it can be irritating. And sometimes I don't have. So I would give myself the advice now. Sometimes I don't have to do something.
Wow.
You don't have to always have the answer. The answer is in itself.
Wow.
And that's why I look at it. It's a growing thing. I think, and the growing thing is always developing myself so that I can see other stuff. But if I'm struggling with myself, then I can't see my wife. I can't see what I need to see, and I can't hear what I need to hear.
Wow. Thank you for tuning in. This was such a wonderful conversation. I think we might have left some stuff on the table. So tune in next year, because I'm going to have to bring them back. And I know you all enjoyed it. They were candid. They were honest. They shared, things about family. And I just am just thrilled to have been able to interview this wonderful couple, Jewel and Darius. Thank you for being here on Relationship Conversations.
Thank you for having me.
And we look forward to having